I watched my husband sign over everything we built. To the woman who destroyed our family. My name is Victoria Ashford, 48 years old, mother of 2, wife of 23 years. And exactly 60 days ago, I discovered my husband's affair with our son's fiancée. But here's what they didn't know. I'm not the helpless housewife they thought I was. I'm the silent partner who built the empire they're about to lose. This is the story of how I dismantled their perfect little fantasy. One devastating move at a time. And if you stay until the end, you'll discover the final twist that left them both with absolutely nothing. Before we dive in, if you love real stories of justice, betrayal, and families torn apart by greed and lies, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what you're about to hear will make you question everyone you trust. This channel brings you the most shocking true family dramas every single week, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. March 15th. That's the date my entire world collapsed. It was a Tuesday morning. Unremarkable. The kind of day that blends into every other day when you've been married for over 2 decades. I was in our home office in Manhattan, reviewing quarterly reports for Ashford Industries, the tech conglomerate my husband Richard and I had built from nothing. Well, that's what everyone believed. That we built it together. The truth? I was the architect, the strategist, the silent force behind every major decision. But Richard was the face. The charming CEO who took the credit, gave the speeches, closed the deals with his million-dollar smile. I didn't mind. Not at first. I preferred working behind the scenes. Numbers made sense to me. People were Richard's department. We were a team. A partnership. Or so I thought. That Tuesday morning, I was expecting a delivery. Financial documents from our attorney. Routine paperwork for our estate planning. We were updating our wills, trusts, the usual preparations wealthy families make. But what arrived changed everything. The courier handed me a thick manila envelope. Wrong label. Wrong name. It was addressed to Richard, marked confidential personal, but delivered to our home office by mistake. I should have just set it aside. Respected his privacy. But something stopped me. Call it intuition. Call it the universe protecting me. I opened it. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. My husband, Richard Ashford. The man I'd woken up next to for 23 years. The father of my children. The partner I'd sacrificed everything for. He was with her. Melissa Chen, 29 years old. Beautiful. Ambitious. And engaged to our eldest son, Christopher. Let that sink in for a moment. My husband was having an affair with our future daughter-in-law. The photos were explicit, intimate, taken over months. Hotel rooms in Paris. A beach house in the Maldives. Our own corporate apartment overlooking Central Park. The one we use for late nights at the office. But the photos were just the beginning. There were bank statements. Wire transfers. Richard had been moving money. Millions. Into offshore accounts. Into Melissa's name. Purchasing properties. Jewelry. A penthouse in Singapore. And then I found the document that made my blood run cold. A revised operating agreement for Ashford Industries. Dated 3 weeks prior. Transferring 49% of Richard's controlling shares to Melissa Chen. In recognition of strategic consulting services. Strategic consulting services. She worked in our marketing department. Entry level. She'd been with the company for 11 months. This wasn't just an affair. This was calculated. Planned. They were positioning her to take control of my company. I sat in that office for 2 hours. Motionless. The papers spread across my desk like evidence at a crime scene. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. Something else happened. Something inside me crystallized, hardened. I started making lists. You see, Richard didn't know something crucial. Something I'd kept private for over 20 years. Those shares he was transferring? They weren't entirely his to give. When we founded Ashford Industries, I structured the company through a series of holding companies and trusts. Richard held 51% of voting shares in his name, yes. But 68% of the actual equity? That belonged to a trust I'd established before we even got married. A trust Richard had signed documents for but never actually read. I was the majority owner. Always had been. He just didn't know it. For 23 years I'd let him believe he was the power, the decision maker, the empire builder. I'd stood behind him at every press conference, smiled at every gala, played the supportive wife while he collected awards and accolades. And this was my reward. But here's what Richard and his little mistress didn't understand. I didn't build an empire by being weak. I didn't amass a $700 million fortune by being naive. I built it by being patient, strategic, and absolutely ruthless when necessary. That evening, Richard came home at 9:30. Late as usual. He kissed my cheek, asked about my day, poured himself a scotch. I served him dinner. Smiled. Asked about his meetings. He had no idea I knew everything. And I wasn't going to tell him. Not yet. Because revenge isn't about anger. It's not about confrontation. Real revenge is about dismantling someone so completely, they don't even see it coming. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 23 years of marriage. I hired a private investigator. Not just any investigator. Marcus Webb, former FBI, specialized in corporate espionage and fraud. If there was dirt to find, Marcus would find it. I gave him 48 hours. He needed 36. The report he delivered was comprehensive and damning. The affair had been going on for 14 months. It started at our annual corporate retreat in Aspen. A chance encounter at the hotel bar that was anything but chance. Melissa had targeted Richard deliberately. She'd researched him for months before even applying to Ashford Industries. Knew his routines, his favorite restaurants, his golf schedule. She'd engineered their first meeting down to the minute. Why? Because Melissa Chen wasn't just some ambitious marketing assistant. She was the daughter of Victor Chen, CEO of Chen Technologies, our biggest competitor. The company that had been trying to acquire Ashford Industries for the past 5 years. Everything clicked into place. This wasn't a romance. This was corporate espionage wrapped in seduction. Melissa had seduced our son Christopher first, gotten engaged, gained access to family events and insider information. Then she'd moved on to the bigger target. Richard. The affair. The offshore accounts. The share transfers. It was all part of a calculated plan to take control of Ashford Industries and hand it to Chen Technologies. But Marcus found something else. Something even Melissa and her father hadn't counted on. In moving money around, Richard had committed securities fraud, tax evasion, violated about 17 different SEC regulations. He could go to prison for years. And suddenly I held all the cards. I spent the next 3 weeks playing the perfect wife, attending charity galas on Richard's arm, hosting dinner parties, smiling for photographs, all while I methodically dismantled everything he thought he controlled. First, I contacted our corporate attorney, James Morrison, the only person besides myself who understood the true ownership structure of Ashford Industries. James, I said, sitting across from him in his corner office overlooking Wall Street, I need you to initiate a forensic audit of all company transactions over the past 18 months. Every wire transfer, every expenditure, everything. James raised an eyebrow. Victoria, that's going to raise questions. Richard will. Richard doesn't need to know, I interrupted. This is a routine compliance review. Board mandated. You'll frame it as preparation for our planned IPO next year. There was no planned IPO. But Richard didn't know that. The audit took 11 days. It uncovered everything. Every illegal transfer. Every fraudulent document. Every piece of evidence needed to destroy Richard professionally and legally. But I still wasn't ready to strike. I needed one more piece. The most important piece. Christopher. My son. My eldest child. 26 years old. Brilliant. Kind. Working as a junior architect at a prestigious firm downtown. He was completely in love with Melissa, planning a wedding, talking about children, his future. And he had no idea his fiancée was sleeping with his father. This was the part that broke me. Not Richard's betrayal, as devastating as that was. But knowing I had to tell my son, destroy his happiness, shatter his trust. But he deserved to know, deserved the truth. I arranged to meet Christopher for lunch. A quiet restaurant in Soho, private booth in the back. "Mom, what's going on?" he asked, concerned. "You sounded strange on the phone." I slid the folder across the table. "Before you open that," I said quietly, "I need you to understand something. What you're about to see will change everything. Your relationship with your father, with Melissa, maybe even with me. But you need to know the truth." Christopher opened the folder. I watched his face change. Confusion, disbelief, horror, rage. This can't be real," he whispered. "Dad wouldn't. Melissa wouldn't." "There are timestamps on the photos," I said gently. "Dates, locations. I've verified everything." He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. "How long have you known?" 3 weeks. 3 weeks. His voice rose. "And you didn't tell me? You let me keep planning a wedding to someone who's—" "I needed proof," I interrupted. "Complete. Irrefutable. Because what I'm about to do requires your support, Christopher. I'm going to destroy them both. Legally. Financially. Completely. But I need to know you're with me." My son wiped his eyes. And when he looked at me again, I saw something I'd never seen before. Cold, calculated fury. "What do you need me to do?" Over the next week, Christopher played his part perfectly. He continued his relationship with Melissa, attended dinners with her and Richard, discussed wedding plans, all while gathering additional evidence. Text messages, emails. Melissa was careless around him, assuming he was too naive, too trusting to suspect anything. She even made the mistake of leaving her laptop open in his apartment one evening. Christopher copied everything. Financial documents, communications with her father, plans to merge Ashford Industries with Chen Technologies the moment she gained controlling interest. And then we found the final piece. The smoking gun. An email from Victor Chen to Melissa, dated 6 months before she even applied to work at Ashford Industries. Remember the objective. Get close to the family. Identify weaknesses. The father is vain and susceptible to flattery. The son is young and idealistic. One or both will give you access to the company structure. Be patient. This acquisition will be worth $50 million to you personally when it's complete. $50 million. That's what my family was worth to them. That's the price tag they'd put on destroying our lives. I made copies of everything, stored them in 3 separate locations, with 3 different attorneys. Then I scheduled a board meeting for Ashford Industries. Emergency session. All 15 board members required to attend. Richard was confused but not concerned. He thought it was about quarterly earnings, maybe a new acquisition. He had no idea it was about his complete destruction. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Friday. Conference room 42. The executive suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. I arrived early, set up the presentation myself, verified the video conferencing for our remote board members. Then I waited. Richard arrived at 1:58. Perfectly on time. Custom suit. Confident smile. He kissed my cheek, took his seat at the head of the table. His seat. The CEO's chair. He had no idea it was the last time he'd ever sit there. The other board members filed in. Distinguished men and women who'd helped build Ashford Industries over 2 decades. People who trusted Richard, respected him. At exactly 2 p.m. I stood up. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," I began. "I know this interrupts your schedules, but what I'm about to present requires immediate board action." Richard looked puzzled. "Victoria, I thought I was leading this meeting?" I smiled at him. Cold. Professional. "No, Richard. I'm invoking my authority as majority shareholder and founder. This meeting is mine." You could feel the confusion in the room. Richard's face went pale. "Majority shareholder? Victoria, what are you talking about? I hold controlling interest." "You hold 51% of voting shares," I interrupted. "But you've never actually owned controlling interest in this company." "I do. I always have." I clicked the remote. The screen behind me illuminated with corporate documents. Formation papers from 24 years ago. When we founded Ashford Industries, I structured the company through a trust that holds 68% of actual equity. You signed the documents, Richard. You just never bothered to read them. Richard stood up, face flushed. This is ridiculous. You can't just. Sit down, I said quietly, because what comes next is going to require you to be seated. Something in my voice made him obey. I clicked to the next slide. Photographs. The same ones I'd found weeks ago. Richard and Melissa. Intimate. Damning. For the past 14 months, I continued, my voice steady despite the rage burning inside me, Richard Ashford has been conducting an affair with Melissa Chen, an employee of this company and the fiancée of our son Christopher. Richard's mouth opened. Nothing came out. But this isn't just about infidelity, I continued. This is about corporate espionage, fraud, and betrayal at the highest level. Click. Next slide. Financial records. Wire transfers. Offshore accounts. Richard has illegally transferred $43 million in company funds to offshore accounts. He's committed securities fraud, tax evasion, and violated his fiduciary duty to this board and our shareholders. Click. Email correspondence. Victor Chen's name prominent. Melissa Chen is the daughter of Victor Chen, CEO of Chen Technologies. This affair was engineered as corporate espionage. The objective was to gain controlling interest in Ashford Industries and facilitate a hostile takeover. I turned to face Richard directly. You were so flattered by the attention of a beautiful younger woman, you never questioned why she wanted you. You never wondered why she was so interested in company operations. You just believed you were irresistible. You betrayed our family, our son, this company, every person in this room who trusted you. Richard stood again, hands shaking. Victoria, please, I can explain. Sit down. He did. I clicked to the final slide. Legal documents. Effective immediately, Richard Ashford is terminated as CEO of Ashford Industries. All shares held in his name are frozen pending legal investigation. All company assets, accounts, and properties are hereby transferred to the trust that actually owns them. Me. Furthermore, criminal charges are being filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the IRS, and the New York District Attorney's Office. James Morrison, our general counsel, has prepared a complete report. James stood, nodded to the board. Everything Mrs. Ashford has presented is documented and verified. The evidence is irrefutable. Richard looked around the room desperately, seeking an ally. Finding none. You can't do this, he whispered. Victoria, please. I'll fix it. I'll end things with Melissa. We can work this out. Work it out. I laughed. Bitter. Sharp. Richard, I don't think you understand. This isn't a marriage counseling session. This is the complete dismantling of everything you think you own. Everything you think you are. As of this moment, you have no access to company funds. No corporate credit cards. No company vehicles. No apartment. Security is currently removing your personal items from the office. I leaned forward. And just so we're clear, I'm filing for divorce. You'll be served papers tonight. And given the prenuptial agreement you signed 23 years ago, which includes a morality clause and a clause about criminal activity, you'll receive exactly nothing. Richard's face crumbled. Victoria. Please. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Terrible mistake. But we can. Get out, I said quietly. Victoria. Get out. Security escorted Richard from the building. His access badges deactivated. His name already being removed from the building directory. The board meeting concluded with unanimous votes. Victoria Ashford, CEO of Ashford Industries. Richard Ashford, terminated. Under investigation. Finished. But I wasn't done. The same day, I arranged a meeting with Melissa Chen. I had her brought to my new office. The CEO's office. The one Richard had occupied that morning. She walked in confidently. Still didn't know what had happened. Mrs. Ashford, I was told you wanted to see me? Is this about the quarterly marketing? Sit down, Melissa. Something in my tone made her obey. Good. I slid a folder across the desk. That's your termination paperwork. You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. You can't fire me without cause. Corporate espionage is cause. Fraud is cause. Conducting an affair with a senior executive is cause. Take your pick. Her face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Your father, Victor Chen, the $50 million he promised you. The emails, Melissa. We have everything. She stood up, trying to maintain composure. You can't prove anything. I smiled. I already have. The SEC has copies. The district attorney has copies. And I've sent a particularly detailed email to every major tech publication in the country. By tomorrow morning, Chen Technologies will be under investigation for corporate espionage. Your father's company will be destroyed. Melissa's confidence shattered. My father had nothing to do with. Save it, I interrupted. I don't care. You came from my family, my company, my son, and now you've lost everything. Oh, and one more thing. Christopher wanted me to give you this. I slid an envelope across the desk. Melissa opened it with shaking hands. Inside was her engagement ring and a single sentence on a card. You're dead to me. Melissa left my office in tears. Security escorted her out. Her desk already cleared. And I sat in that CEO chair, looking out over Manhattan, feeling nothing. Empty. Victorious. Broken. I'd won. Destroyed them completely. Everything I planned had worked perfectly. So why did I feel so hollow? That evening I went home to my apartment. Empty now. Richard's belongings removed. The space felt different. Larger. Quieter. Christopher came by. We sat in the living room, not speaking for a long time. Finally he said, Mom, are you okay? I looked at my son, 26 years old, heartbroken, betrayed, but still concerned about me. Honestly, I don't know. I destroyed your father today. Destroyed him completely. He'll likely go to prison. He'll lose everything. And I feel nothing. No satisfaction. No joy. Just tired. Christopher took my hand. He deserved it, Mom. They both did. Did they? I asked. Or did I just prove I'm as ruthless as they are? My son was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised me. You're not ruthless, Mom. You're protective. There's a difference. You protected our family, our company, everything you built. That's not cruelty. That's strength. 6 months have passed since that board meeting. Richard is currently awaiting trial. 15 counts of securities fraud, tax evasion, and corporate misconduct. His attorney is negotiating a plea deal. 5 to 7 years in federal prison most likely. We're divorced. Finalized 3 months ago. He received nothing except the legal bills. Melissa Chen was fired from every job she applied for after word got out about her involvement in corporate espionage. Chen Technologies is under investigation by multiple federal agencies. Victor Chen resigned as CEO to spend more time with family. The stock price collapsed. Ashford Industries? Thriving. Stock up 32%. 3 new acquisitions in development. And now everyone knows who really built this empire. Me. Christopher is doing well, considering everything. He's in therapy, working through the betrayal. He started dating again cautiously, slowly rebuilding his ability to trust. My daughter Emma, I haven't mentioned her much, she's been studying abroad through all of this, came home last month. She knows everything. We've grown closer. My family is smaller now, but stronger, more honest. People ask me if I regret how I handled things. If I should have been more forgiving, more compassionate, given Richard a second chance. And here's my answer. I gave Richard 23 years of chances, 23 years of partnership, loyalty, support. I built an empire and let him take credit. I raised our children while he traveled the world. I stood by him through every challenge. And the moment I wasn't looking, he tried to take everything. Not just the company, not just the money. He tried to take my dignity, my family, my son's future. So no, I don't regret it. I protected what was mine. I defended my family. And I showed the world that underestimating a woman, especially one who's been quiet for too long, is a fatal mistake. Would I have preferred to grow old with the man I thought I married? Of course. Would I have preferred my son hadn't been betrayed by the woman he loved? Absolutely. But we don't get to choose what happens to us. We only get to choose how we respond. And I chose to fight. There's a quote I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's from an old Chinese proverb. Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. The idea being that revenge destroys both parties. That you can't hurt someone without hurting yourself. And maybe that's true. Maybe I am different now. Harder. Less trusting. More guarded. But I'm also free. Free from a marriage built on lies. Free from a man who saw me as a convenience rather than a partner. Free to build a life on my own terms. So yes, I dug 2 graves. Richard's. And the woman I used to be. The woman who stayed quiet. Who stood in the background. Who let others take credit for her work. That woman is gone. And in her place? A mother. A woman who knows her worth and won't settle for anything less. My name is Victoria Ashford. I'm 48 years old. I'm the founder and CEO of a $700 million company. I'm the mother of 2 incredible children. And I'm the woman who destroyed everyone who tried to destroy her. Thank you for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, if you've ever been betrayed or underestimated, leave a comment below. Share your story. Let's build a community of people who refuse to be victims. And please subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell. Because every week, we bring you true stories of family drama, revenge, justice, and survival. Stories that will shock you, inspire you, and remind you that you're stronger than you think. The next video drops in 3 days. It's about a woman who discovered her entire family had been lying to her for 30 years. You won't want to miss it. Until then, remember this. Never underestimate the quiet ones. We're not weak. We're just waiting for the right moment. Stay strong. Stay smart. And never let anyone take what's yours.